Hello students, today we will study marketing. We will cover unit 4 which is about transportation, warehousing and inventory management. Let's start the lecture. First is transportation management system. Transportation management systems plan, execute and manages transport and movement functions. Warehouse management systems incorporate processes to guide physical activities including product receipt, material movement and storage and order selection. So, when we talk about transportation and material management, it is important that we study the total system, how materials from the vendors reach to the manufacturers. The process to schedule the material delivery to the point where it is needed is important. Warehouse basically relates to the storage of the material. What is the kind of the layout of the storage and how cost can be minimized is the objective of warehouse management. Importance of warehouse management system helps to optimize systems and approaches. It eliminates waste of resources and non-value added steps. It improves customer satisfaction, it reduces inventory and it reduces overall cost. Now, when we talk about warehouses, we have to pay the rental charges and it increases the handling of the material charges. So, we need to carefully plan how do we design the layout of the warehouse, how the materials are transported and what is the schedule, so that the minimum inventory is generally held up and this reduces the cost for the customers also and for the manufacturers also. Functions of transportation management systems include carrier selection and carrier scheduling. It is dispatching, document preparation and freight payment, performance measurement, shipment consolidation and routing shipment rating, and it is shipment scheduling. Now, since we are working in global business systems, we need to buy raw materials from many locations. The locations are globally dispersed. So, we need to ship, we need to route the materials to the location, and here it is a kind of a complex process of involving a kind of a scheduling and a dispatching procedure, so that the cost and the delivery is maintained at a schedule where you need it. The key elements of transportation management system relate to equipment scheduling, yard management, routing and advance shipment notification and carrier administration. So, this is a big industry. Transportation basically involves lot of investment and lot of stakeholders and other people who are involved in this business. They basically try to equip their transportation carriers and try to schedule it, so that the delivery is generally related to the timely aspects of the manufacturer, and yard management basically relates to the kind of the loading capacity of the carriers. Equipment and yard management. Scheduling is a key component. Yard management requires careful load planning, equipment utilization and driver scheduling, arrangement of delivery and pickup, pre-scheduled dock positions or slots. Now, when we schedule materials, it is important to see what is the capacity of the carrier. If the materials are not in enough capacity, we need to reschedule and try to arrange material from many sources, so that the total capacity of the carrier is used and the transportation cost per unit reduces. Functions of warehouse management system. It assigns and tracks storage locations. It is inventory cycle counting, it is labor scheduling, equipment scheduling and it is lot more other control also. When we talk about transportation, warehouses are basic inputs in order to store the materials. When the materials are transported, they need to have a kind of a space to store them. So, transportation has to relate to warehouse management system, which schedules the delivery, which schedules the location and the storage capacity of the place which is involved for storing materials. Functions involve order selection, location and replenishment. It is receiving, put away, storage and performance measurement. So, when we talk about the materials, you receive them, you match the order quantity with the invoices and try to have a kind of a arranging of materials, that the materials which are in demand, they should be arranged in locations where they could be transported easily, and the materials which are not needed, they should be stored back. Core functions of warehouse management system involve receiving, put away, cycle count, pickup task, then it is quality analysis, replenishment, pack, opportunistic cross-dock control, inventory control, work order management and shipping. So, when we talk about the warehouse functions management, it is how do we make the materials to come to this location, how do we code the materials and how do we arrange the materials. This is an important aspect which people have to study it in a detailed way and arrange them in a scientific and accurate way. Warehouse management system work procedures. Set procedures for workers when receiving and shipping. Accuracy when case counting. Enhanced space utilization. Replenishment of inventory and improved communication. That is, when you receive inventory, you have to cross check it with the billings and the invoices. So, when the materials come, you have to count also, you have to store, create space for materials and try to design the layout in such a way that there is less obsolescence and breakage of material. Successful warehouse management system plans. It is of a broad range of services. It is fast inventory turnover. Workers must be cross-functional. Minimize time and movement. Value added services. Cycle counting. Optimized design of warehouse. So, warehouse requires a wide range of activities where the laborers have to rooted and they have to be scheduled, because the cross functional abilities of labor will generally help you to reduce the cost. The same labor can generally load the material and can arrange the material. So, their duties must be designed and fixed in such a way that they have the training and the awareness of what is happening in the warehouse. Let us study warehouse management system tools, which involve auto ID data capture, barcode scanners, mobile computers and wireless LANs. So, when we study these latest techniques, we see that the warehouses are also equipped with high technology support equipments, which generally establish the layout of the materials, and all the coding is done through computers. Nature and importance of warehousing. Warehousing provides time and place utility for raw materials, industrial goods and finished products, allowing firms to use customer service as a dynamic value added competitive tool. Warehouses are managed, materials are handled, and if materials are handled, it is less expenditures and it is less burden on customers. Functions of warehousing basically include transportation consolidation, product mixing, cross-docking, services, protection against contingency and smoothing. So, warehouses will reduce the extra cost. This is the value added cost which will be transferred to the manufacturer's profit enhancement. Public warehouses basically establish a rationale for public warehousing where a limited capital investment is there, flexibility is there. Public warehousing services are bonded warehousing and field warehousing. See, when we use public warehousing, it is a kind of a rental accommodation for the materials. So, you have a less investment in terms where you do not have to own those costly properties, and it is flexible. That is, when it is seasonal demand, you can establish the kind of the rental charges and reduce yourself with the extra value which you involve in cost incurring. So, public warehousing is also a kind of a alternative for the manufacturers to reduce and to schedule their costing procedures for the material handlings. Let us see the warehousing functions in details through this sketch. First is the materials are received, that is through shipping it comes, then it is order picking, order assembly, storage, and then after handling the miscellaneous charges, it goes to the office. Now, let us study the second aspect of warehouse management, which involves inventory. Inventory is important because the concept of inventory will allow you to understand how important material handling is to save the cost for the company. Inventory is raw materials, component parts, work in process materials and the finished products which are a part of stock in any company. Inventory is one of the biggest corporate assets. So, when we talk about the manufacturers, we need to understand the manufacturers invest lot of money in their stock. Stock is the inventory, whether it is raw materials or finished products, both involve lot of investment. So, the investment which comes into the materials is through the kind of the loans or the debt capital or the kind of the money which the warehouses generally invest in handling this kind of assets. So, the 80% of the capital which is involved in the working abilities of the manufacturers relate to the aspects of holding inventories. So, inventories are one of the biggest corporate assets which carry lot of investment. Let us see what is the holding cost of the inventory. This requires the warehouse rental cost, the security and the cooling cost, the obsolescence and the spoilage cost. When we talk about the rental, it is the kind of the space which we take to hold the inventory. So, we need to pay for these charges. We also need cold storage plants for the FMCG products, which is the fast moving consumer products which relate to the food industry. So, we have to take this aspect also into consideration, that the materials when are handled do need a kind of a basic care, otherwise they will get obsolete, that is mishandled materials can be broken. The opportunity cost of inventory is the foregone return on funds, it is delay in introducing new products and it is foregone other best options. So, what is opportunity cost? This is the like if you have money and if you had not invested in inventory, this would have given you a kind of a increased option of through stock earnings or through other materials earning. Opportunity cost is the next best option which the company can avail or invest the money to get the returns. Benefits of inventory basically relate to, here the demand is managed and the supply is managed. It helps in cost savings and systemization of efforts. So, this is hedge against uncertain demand, it is hedge against uncertain supply, it is smoothing and it is economic ordering cost. So, when we talk about inventory, it basically matches the demand and the supply in the market, because extra materials means extra money invested and it is extra wastage. So, you have to hedge against the kind of the supply which is there in the market. Now, let us study the independent demand and the dependent demand. In independent demand, we have the finished goods and the items sold in package. Dependent demand is the components used in production of final products. It is supplementary materials used for fixation of final products. Now, when we talk about inventory, we generally have a kind of a independent demand for products which is generally demanded by the consumers or it is by the kind of the retailers. So, when products go to the market, they basically generate another kind of demand, that is dependent. If you have a kind of a house construction going on, naturally the people will buy for the electricity and the sanitary items also. So, this is the dependent demand which arises from the basic option of independent demands. Or when medicine is sold into the markets, you need injections also. So, this is the example of dependent and independent demand. You have to be prepared for both the kinds of the items, otherwise the failure of the system will be there. Let us study type of inventory and how inventory is used. This is an anticipation or a seasonal inventory, a safety stock, buffer demand fluctuations. It is lot size or cycle stock. It takes advantage of quantity discounts or purchase efficiency. It is pipeline or transportation inventory. It is speculative or hedge inventory, protects against some future event, example labor strike. It is maintenance, repair and operating inventories. So, inventories are of many types. It is not only the raw materials, but also the support materials and also the finished products. Every material which is there in the warehouse or in the manufacturer's premises involves a cost and is considered as an inventory. Now, the objectives of inventory management basically provides acceptable level of service to the customer, allows cost efficient operations. It is to minimize inventory investment to save interest and opportunity cost. So, what is the objective of management inventory is to obviously minimize the cost, obviously to handle materials in a way where the systemization of efforts is there and the consumer gets the satisfaction and the material availability at a reduced cost. Relevant inventory costs include item cost, holding cost, ordering cost, shortage costs. Let us study them in details. One is item cost, cost per item plus any other direct cost associated with getting the item to the plant. Holding cost is capital, storage, risk cost typically stated as a percentage of the unit value, example 15 to 25%. Ordering cost is fixed constant dollar amount incurred for each order placed. Shortage cost, loss of customer goodwill, back order handling and lost sales. So, when we talk about the item sale, it is the unit cost, that is cost plus per unit production and other handling charges. Holding cost is the capital invested plus the kind of the obsolescence. Ordering cost is the transportation and the dispatch cost. Shortage cost is the customer lost or the sales lost. Order quantity strategies. Lot for lot is order exactly what is needed for the next period. Fixed order quantity, order a predetermined amount each time an order is placed. Min-max system, when on hand inventory falls below a predetermined minimum level, order enough to refill up to the maximum level. Order end periods, order enough to satisfy demand for the next end periods. Now, when we try to decide strategies for inventory, it is essentially what is the kind of the material we are handling. If we are handling with very costly materials like where the cost is in crores, then we have to only take up the orders and then invest. Otherwise, the manufacturer will also be in a condition of loss. Fixed order quantity is when the demand is generally static. Demand is not fluctuating and you have enough orders. So, you have one order quantity decided and you buy. Min-max system is when the inventory falls to a minimum level, you try to refill it, or it is end period is like it is a cyclic demand. How do you refill your cylinders in your kitchen basically relates to this example. Models for determining order quantity. First is economic order quantity, that is the EOQ model or the Q system. This is an optimizing method used for determining order quantity and reorder points. This is the part of continuous review system which tracks on hand inventory for withdrawal when the order is made. Economic production quantity, that is EPQ, a model that allows for incremental product delivery. Quantity discount model, this modifies the EOQ model to process and consider cases where quantity discounts are available. See, these are generally calculative models, we will discuss in details, but the EOQ, that is the economic order point, is the point where the holding cost and the kind of the ordering cost both get minimum. And this will be the point where you order materials by minimizing the cost for the inventory. Let us study the EOQ assumptions. Here the demand is known and constant. No safety stock is required. Lead time is known and constant. No quantity discounts are available. Ordering costs are constant. Demand is satisfied, that is there are no shortages. The order quantity arrives in a single shipment. When we talk about this model, this basically works on the constant demand and less fluctuations into the market when it is uniform. Like when you try to give admissions to children in school and then you need to order the books for 12 months. Now, when you have admissions in hand, the number of books and the number of materials used for the students will not change. So, here you can apply this model because it is the same level of inventory which will be required for another 1 year. The multi-period model, this is supplier is there, on hand inventory is there and the customer is there. How the orders will be managed in different periods depends upon the supply of the materials in the market. Let's see what will be the total cost for the inventory. It will be the purchasing cost, the ordering cost, the inventory cost, and this will give you the total cost of the materials. The optimal ordering cost basically relates to purchasing cost, that is total units into cost per unit. Ordering cost is equal to number of orders into cost per order. Inventory cost is equal to average inventory into holding cost. Inventory cost, let's see first the units and then we will calculate the formula. First is, here we have shown you inventory and then the initials. Deterministic demand is D units per year. Ordering cost is S. Annual holding cost is H per unit. Purchasing cost is C per unit. This is the optimal quantity to order, where we have generally the inventory positions and the number of periods involved. On y axis you have Q, that is the inventory, and on x axis you have time, that is the period over which demand for Q has occurred. This is the total time involved. So, here the each aspect, this is the period, this is the number of periods, this will be divided and the average time will be taken and the inventory will be ordered. This is the average inventory for each period is Q upon 2, that is we have taken the seasonal kind of a demand which generally is required to be calculated in terms of Q divided by 2. Finding the optimal quantity to order is purchasing cost is equal to D into C, ordering cost is D upon Q into S, and inventory cost is Q upon 2 into H. H is the holding cost, Q is the inventory cost, and here you have the demand generally calculated as a kind of a optimal initial for the inventory management. So, let us find out what is the total cost. Total cost is DC plus D upon Q into S plus Q upon 2 into H. In order now to find the optimal quantity, we need to optimize the total cost with respect to decision variable, that is we have to control it. Let us see the EOQ model. On y axis we have cost, on x axis we have order quantity. This is the holding cost, which generally is kind of directly proportional to the quantity of the materials ordered, that is if materials are high, this cost will go high. Ordering cost basically reduces with the order quantity, that is if larger is the number of orders given, then the cost will go down. But the summation with this yellow curve, summation is the point where the holding cost and the ordering cost intersect. So, this is the EOQ point where the total cost will be minimum. This is the down part of this yellow curve which shows you this is the EOQ aspect or the EOQ point where you try to order the inventory. This is the trade-off point between holding cost and ordering cost. So, by this model we understand the main insight of the total cost, the holding cost and the ordering cost. The EOQ model is the essential model to establish a trade-off between holding and ordering cost. This is a systematic order process by which we streamline and manage inventory in an efficient way. Now, let us study the summary of this lecture. In this we have covered the transportation system, the warehouse management system and the inventory management system. All are related because if you have efficient transportation system, the cost can be managed by the kind of the functionality of managing the carriers, the shipment and the delivery through other transport carriers. The warehouses are important because now the property has become very costly. Warehouse rental charges have gone high. Multi-locations are required to convince the customers. So, warehouse management is also important. Inventory is the biggest corporate asset which needs to be regulated because lot of investment is there in inventory. I hope the students must have understood that what is the coordination between transportation, warehouse management and inventory management. Thank you, students.